Did you know that batteries contain something else besides the batteries? You probably think it's the protection board, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you'll find something interesting and unusual there. It also serves to protect the batteries, but it works in a completely different way. This is a self-resetting fuse. Despite its name, it has nothing in common with a regular fuse. Let's take a look at how it works and where it can be used. The fuse is covered with a dielectric film with markings. If you remove the film, you'll see what it looks like. If you've never encountered one of these before, you'll never guess what function this thing performs. The fuse is the plate in the middle, and the leads are made of nickel tape. From the side, you can clearly see that there is a black layer inside. Let's try ringing the fuse and figure out what it is. For more accurate measurements, I'll first short the probes and check their resistance. The multimeter shows approximately 1.5 ohms. Now the fuse resistance. And here it's exactly the same. Even if I swap the probes, the resistance remains the same. The current flows equally in both directions. This means there are no anodes or cathodes here. If you poke around the fuse with a needle, you can see how it works. The two halves with the nickel strips soldered onto them look like foil, and between them is a thick layer of dark material. This is because the material from which these fuses are made contains carbon. More precisely, the carbon is mixed with the polymer from which the fuse is made. Polymer doesn't conduct electricity, but carbon, as we know, is an excellent conductor. When a large current flows through the fuse, the polymer heats up and expands. The carbon moves along with the polymer, and the conductive paths are lost. As a result, the fuse's resistance increases. After the fuse cools, it begins conducting current again as before. Now let's conduct a little experiment. Let's see what happens to the fuse if a short circuit occurs. This multimeter will display the applied voltage. Its probes will be parallel to the fuse. Currently, the power supply voltage is 10 volts at idle. This multimeter will display the current flowing through the fuse. The electronic thermometer will display the fuse's temperature. Its temperature sensor is taped in place. I set the power supply current to minimum, so when I connect the circuit now, the voltage will drop, and the current will be only about 100 milliamps. Essentially, it turns out there's a short circuit. The current is now exactly the same as what I set on the power supply. For now, the fuse is acting as a normal conductor. The voltage drop across the fuse is 0 volts. The heat generated by it is very small. I'll gradually increase the current on the power supply. To keep the video from dragging on, I'll increase the speed further. The current is 1 amp, the fuse is still working. The voltage drop across it has increased to 150 millivolts. This creates a small heating element. Note that the temperature is gradually rising. I'll increase the current even more. (2 amps). The fuse shows 280 millivolts. That's almost half a watt of heat. I increase the voltage further to 3 amps. The voltage initially remained steady but then began to rise. Notice that the current remains steady. This indicates that at some point, the fuse's resistance began to increase. Then it was as if the circuit had broken. But in reality, this isn't a complete break, as current is still flowing through the circuit, only 120 milliamps. The temperature is still rising, and much faster than before. I kept the circuit in this state for about half an hour. The fuse reached a temperature of about 64 degrees Celsius, and didn't rise any further. In my next experiment, I want to see how quickly the short circuit protection will trip if the fuse is cold. The power supply voltage will also be 10 volts, and I set the current to the maximum, 5 amps. Now I'll simply short the probes, and the ammeter will show this current. I'm connecting the fuse. According to my calculations, the protection tripped after 4 seconds. The fuse is warmed up again, but unfortunately, the thermometer doesn't show it. There's a lot of inertia in its measurements. It can't immediately display the desired temperature because the temperature sensor still needs to warm up. Let's look at the data sheet for this fuse and try to understand its main characteristics. I'm interested in this table. When selecting such fuses, you need to consider several characteristics. Hold is the maximum current the fuse can handle in operating mode. Trip is the minimum current at which the fuse becomes non-conducting. The operating voltage and power the fuse can dissipate. The first column indicates a typical room temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the continuous operating current will be 1.75 amps. Most likely, the fuse marking is taken from these numbers. Next are the parameters at 0 degrees Celsius. The operating current is 2 amps, and the tripping current is 4.4 amps. Presumably at this temperature, the fuse could operate at 3 amps. But with such a high current, it would begin to heat up and eventually trip. Further, as noted earlier, at 20 degrees Celsius, the operating current is 1.75 amps, and the tripping current is 3.8 amps. At 60 degrees Celsius, the operating current is 1.2 amps, and the tripping current is 2.7 amps. As you've already noticed, as the temperature increases, the operating current and cutoff current begin to decrease. At 85 degrees Celsius, the operating current drops to 0.9 amps. Then, the time after which the cutoff occurs is indicated. At a temperature of 20 degrees Celsius and a current of 8.75 amps, the circuit breaker will trip in approximately 5 seconds. This may not seem like much, but in reality, if the appliance containing this fuse has no overload or short circuit protection, it may already have blown by this time. Here's the fuse's resistance in normal operation at a temperature of 20 degrees. And here's its resistance after it disconnected and then reconnected. These measurements weren't taken immediately, but after an hour. Even after this period of time, its resistance may be higher. This is because it doesn't decrease immediately. The fuse will still work, but its resistance will be slightly higher. The last column shows the maximum power dissipated by the fuse. It's only 1.5 watts. The maximum voltage this fuse is rated for is 15 volts. This means it should be able to handle approximately 100 milliamps. The working voltage is very important when selecting a fuse for a particular appliance. See for yourself. The voltage of the entire battery where this fuse was located is 8 volts. And it doesn't matter at all where it's located, between the batteries or at the battery's output. As long as there's a connected load, the voltage drop across the fuse is very small. But when a short circuit occurs, the entire voltage from the batteries is applied to the fuse. The higher the voltage, the greater the current and the greater the heat dissipated. In this case, the fuse will simply burn out. You can apply a higher voltage to the fuse, but only for a short time. For example, I applied 30 volts to this one, but only for 5 seconds. In this case, it heated up very quickly, but remained intact. Overall, a self-resetting fuse is a great thing, but you need to choose it wisely. At -10, it will handle more current than you expected, and the protection may not work. At 30 degrees Celsius, on the other hand, the device will shut off earlier than expected and won't function properly. Therefore, They can only be used in areas where the temperature remains constant. Other nearby components can also affect its operation. Heat dissipated from a transistor or diode assembly can easily change the fuse parameters. And if the fuse is an SMD fuse, its casing can easily be heated by the board. Conversely, if the board is very cold, it will also cool the fuse. In this case, all your expected device parameters can easily change. Also, remember that a self-resetting fuse is far from immortal. If frequently disconnected or severely overheated, the fuse may stop working. It typically trips 100 to 200 times. However, it's important to understand that this is still a protection device that operates in emergency situations. If it trips even twice a month, its lifespan will last several years. Self-resetting fuses come in various shapes and sizes. There are high voltage, low voltage, high current, and low current fuses. Therefore, they can be used in many areas. They protect many devices from overloads and short circuits. This is precisely the function they perform in computer USB ports. For many people, such devices are still a novelty. So if you have experience using them in any equipment, please share your experience in the comments. I think many people will find it very interesting.